Let's welcome Josh to the stream. Hello, Mr. Josh Berg. How we
What's
doing?
up, man? Doing good. We're live in effect.
We are live in effect.
Awesome.
I don't know if you have the stream pulled up, but chat is definitely showing a lot of love.
Yeah, I've seen that, but I don't see the video. Yeah, it's all good.
How
Thanks
we
for
doing?
having me. Doing good, man. All day, got a cavity drilled.
Oh,
Whole
that's
side
never
of the
good.
face was frozen.
We do not like that.
Yeah, it's been a wild couple of weeks, as you can imagine.
Absolutely. So really quick, I did just give your little intro, which chat, let me know if I did justice. I think I did pretty well. Tried not to butcher that. Just a quick kind of breakdown for you guys on how we're going to do this. So we're giving Josh the complete free reins on conversation. So you guys at any point, if you have questions or you want to ask for details, chime in and then I will be the extension of you guys. We're going to be talking about everything from Josh's background in music, Josh and Mac, how they met, how they started working together, the entire construction and how Balloonerism came to be. And then we're going to open it up to you guys and do a quick little Q&A. So Josh, without any further delay, let's kick it off and let's talk about your background and how you got into music.
Awesome. Yeah, I just always been into music since I was a kid. It's probably like Back to the Future. I knew I wanted to ride a skateboard and make music and all that good stuff.
Now, I know this is a very common question that people get asked, but do you remember what that first piece of music or that first album was that kind of started your love for music?
I don't know, man. It's got to be like I don't know, all that like 80s movie shit. Like I was 10 years older than Mac, so instead of the 90s, it was like 80s movies and um all that stuff. Guns N' Roses, um this type of thing was popular.
Hell yeah. There is something that I did want to ask you really quick for those of you in the chat who don't know what the role of an audio engineer is. So could you break that down for us?
Yeah, that was the like I never knew what it was either. I just come in and I hit record. I always liked music and I liked making music and I never wanted to. I never thought I would ever deal with anybody famous or ever make any songs of my own that anybody would ever hear. Um, and it never occurred to me why like if you read a recording engineer background story, it always starts with, well, I wonder why the record sounded like that. I didn't ever wonder that question because I knew like I had a $5 microphone from Radio Shack and everything was bound to suck. I thought like songs came out whole and completely finished, but I mean really I just hit spacebar. um it's it, people can make a whole lot more out of it than that, but I'm really just capturing the song operated. I mean, a lot of people record themselves, you know.
Right. Was there anything that made you want to transition from being sort of like a music producer to the role that you do have now?
I never really was a music producer. I just, it was like my little arts and crafts projects. You know, I liked making music and I liked records and stuff. And then I started out. I decided to go to recording school because it was like, I could get good at hanging drywall or doing this or that, but I might as well do something that will also help me doing what I like to do in my spare time,
Right.
which is where I started. And that was kind of the beginning of everything, you know?
And for those in the chat who also don't know, could you quickly touch on some of the other artists that you've worked with?
Uh, sure. Well, the other like person that I like ran their studio for a while was Ye. I did all the Jesus years, and that was like directly after Mac passed.
Right.
But I came up in the studios in LA, so I worked with like almost everybody um, that was making music at that time. Dre was in this. He left Record One for like a year, and I learned a lot like from his team. That's kind of what taught me about the greater role of like studio management and keeping track of sessions and studio flow and like making sure your shit is organized and super nice, you know.
Right.
Dre really sets a template for how to use a studio to make music, and that was really pivotal for me.
Awesome. All right, so let's get into sort of the beginning on how you first met Mac and how that relationship started to form.
It was kind of crazy because that like I've had this situation in my life before. Maybe you all have had this happen where you kind of like meet somebody before you meet them, and there's a little bit of like uh, I don't know, like foreshadowing. I I was one of the most influential artists collectives for me was a group called Anticon, which was this like art rap collective from the Bay, and like, well, they're from all over, but they were in Oakland in the like the early aughts, and um, one of those guys is a guy called Soul, and he, you know, he started a podcast. I started like watching what he was doing like years on, and one of the things he was doing at the time when mixtapes were happening, this must have been 2011, was um, he did his like anarchist activist rap mixtape over all the like up and coming people. So there was like Little B shit on there, and then he did something over Kool-Aid and frozen pizza. So I was like, I don't even know who these cats are. So I looked them up, and a few weeks later I went to the studio for my friend's session, and the place was trashed. And we were like cleaning it up, and they're like, "Oh, who was in here last night?" You know, they're like, "Oh, Mac Miller." I'm like, "Oh shit, I know who that is." And you know, and then the next it was incredible foreshadowing for the years to come. But the next day I got a call. I worked at Paramount Recording Studio. That's where I came up. That's where I started
Okay.
as an engineer. I actually started there cleaning the toilets and getting the blunts and getting the food. I started from the absolute bottom over there and worked my way up. And at that time, I had gotten to know what I was doing. Got a call, and after the incident the day before, I was like, absolutely, you know, and went in there, did the session, met Mac, and it was incredible. One of my favorite songs. We did one of my favorite songs. It's called "Bad Trip." That was supposed to be for Macadelic. He was working on Macadelic at the time, and he's like, I'm exploring the relationship between love and drugs, and which is a theory that already resonated with me deeply. I'm like, all right, I like this guy. He's got theories. He's got music. He's got bars. He's out here doing it. Um, he did like the official like rap session. I think Jimmy came in with like a like 20 girls from the bar next door or something. You know, it was ridiculous. But we did that song, and at the end of the session, he was like, he was like, man, I really like working with you. Uh, I haven't liked any of the other engineers that I've had in LA. Like, I want to work with only you. Like, you want your files? He's like, no, man, I'll get them next time. I'll call you tomorrow. And then I didn't hear from him for like 3 months. Um, and uh, when he did, I was already on another session, but he wanted to finish up Macadelic. We did like the last third of those records, and I was doing like a 12-hour session during the day, and then like 11 to 5 a.m. I would work with him, and we did like 1 through 8, and the question, clarity, you know, and 1 through 8 got me the job. If you heard the like ice jingling in the chorus, I was like, man, he was like, I don't know what to do with the chorus. He did the chorus, and I'm like, oh, something about me. Like I went back after he left and put like jingling ice in the chorus, and I said it to him, and he's like, whoa. he, he got stoked, you know, and he was like, oh man, you know, he was feeling that I had some crafty production moves, and it kind of sealed the deal for me. We and For me, it was Clarity. When I recorded Clarity, I had been thinking, this is like 2011. Everybody's still really intensely thinking about like Occupy Wall Street and what are we doing socioeconomically. And I'm thinking, you know, this music shit is, you know, not going to save the world. And then he said that line, love activist, and that like just stung me. And I thought about it a lot. I'm like, oh, this is important. Like this is going to touch people. This is going to um, help a whole generation of kids think uh, about life in a certain way, and this is meaningful, and that kind of like um, signed me on, not just for him, but for what I was doing for the path ahead. And when you know after Macadelic was done, he came through and did a session. I was like, you know, I'm thinking about moving to LA, and would you come work at my house? And I was like, oh, okay. And then he like came to LA, and I'm like waiting for the call. And one day I get a call. Hey, I can't get any sound out of the speakers, man. Can you come help me out? And I came over there, and I didn't leave until like I was the last one to leave the house. Like 2 years later.
I love that.
Uh, and that's like that was the house from the TV show where the sanctuary was.
Right. Let me quickly ask you, since this kind of ties into what we're talking about, what would you describe your first impression of Mac? Like, how would you put that into a sentence?
You know, I mean, it's like you just see it all over his face. He's like, you know, like got a bit of a like exuberant and mischievous smile, and like, you know, chock full of energy. And I didn't really know what to think at first. It took a little while to like get to see what he's all about, you know.
Right.
Right off top, like I really like the music, and I don't just like everybody's music automatically. I am really positive on music. I usually find something good about everything I work on, but uh, he really impressed me right off the bat with the bars. And uh, I remember waiting for Macadelic to come out, and I was like so hyped on it. I was kept like listening to it over and over again. I'm like, is this normal? Should I like this record this much? You know, and but it was crazy. So this is one of my favorite stories. Uh, at the time, like, you know, out of like the top 10 songs at night on the radio, Cash Money or Young Money's got like 7 to 10 of the 10 songs. Everybody who came in the studio says, hey man, I'm gonna get a little Wayne on this song, you know. And after Mac did the question, he's like, I'm gonna get Lil Wayne on this song. And I'm like, okay, you do that, buddy.
Damn.
And then to hear the record came out, I was waiting to see if he got Lil Wayne on it, and fucking sure enough, he did. And what's crazy is at the time I was also a savage cigarette smoker, and my cigarettes were Winston's. And so that Lil Wayne came on the song and rapped about Winston's, I was like, mind completely blown. And like, and that this dude at like the peak of his career jumps on a B-side vibe track off of a Young Kids mixtape.
Right. And the rest is
Bizarre.
history. So would you say that's one of your favorite songs from the album?
Oh, definitely. That's probably one of my favorite songs of his. Period. I didn't really, you know, I didn't realize this until really looking at Balloonerism, but fella asks a lot of questions in the songs. There's always and it's like these deep introspective philosophical questions, and you know, it's not like nobody's gonna sit down like, what the fuck he just said, what are we doing here, what am I doing here, like, but it does, it does work. You do ask the question, and it's a heavy question if you want to give it time.
Right.
I think there's few questions that are more important. And it's kind of a wild. That's the other thing about that song is it's like Wayne comes on at the end doing a regular verse after two like deluxe hook style A-B verses and a chorus. Like it's a really interesting song.
We're seeing a lot of love for Macadelic in the chat, so I'll absolutely love to see that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was long one of my favorite projects of his. It's just so good, like top to bottom. That was another thing, like, oh, you put together like a whole record that's got a vibe and it's uh, you know, no skips, everything's cool. It was really good. I got to meet E and Germ during that time, who have become lifelong friends and mean the world to me. Uh, I was nervous to meet Germ because I heard he carried a pistol. Oh, I'm Pittsburgh, man. Fucking Germ's got to like leave the piece on the table so nobody acts up. You know, but a couple of fucking tough guys.
Definitely taking note of that for a later conversation.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
we
Be ready.
fast forward from that era of Max music and then you working with him later on, how would you describe Max evolution both sonically and as an artist?
It's like to me, it's like a really direct line of ascension. I don't know what I did there, and it goes all the way back to like the videos of him at like 10 years old, like, singing songs and shit, like this kid was going to do nothing but make music his whole life. And I watched him just bootstrap every single skill that he had. He didn't, when I first started working with him at the Sanctuary, he was like, man, I want to get back into making beats. Um, just get Logic, put it up, it's already like almost on the computer, and start going, and then he's just like, people come over like, hold on, I'm gonna make a beat from scratch, and it's like, bro, you just started, man, don't get out of hand. But and he would do it, and it would be amazing. At the one with uh Mikey Rocks and uh Casanova Sweet Jane. You know what I'm saying? The chat will know these things. But he just like, oh, here comes this dude who's got the hottest song out right now. Let me just make a song from scratch right in front of him, like, and came out with an amazing track that what you hear on the record is not it. It used to have this Beck sample. It's like my favorite Beck song ever from. It's called mm, the album with Beer Can and Loser Mellow Gold, like track 4 on there. Um, but to look at these songs where he's producing, and he was never just rapping, and he was, oh, I need an 88 key fully weighted keyboard, and didn't know how to play the piano, just started playing, and would just constantly fucking around and grabbing chords and this, until like when you see him in his Studio City house at the white piano, like he's really playing. And I mean, even like a year later, Rick's piano, he's just fucking around at Rick's house, like waiting for Rick to show up, and now it's a song. Um, he just this was always where he was going, and that's one of my favorite things about Balloonerism is that you could see, uh, like all the shit that became swimming and circles. Like people like to give it a lot of credit for his maturity and all this, and it's like, dude, he was always doing that. Like there were these, um, more raw and organic versions, sure, but he just got better and better and better. And it wasn't fair. Like how are you going to compete with dude? Like he just makes music all day. He's like the swords are sharp. He does nothing but sharpen the sword.
Yeah. I loved it. I think it's really refreshing to hear from the inside too, because I think from a fan perspective, especially me personally, I think I found his music early on in high school. And I think it was really apparent from the beginning that his artistry wasn't something that was common at the time, I guess you can say, in the sense of he had such a raw passion for what he did, where it kind of expanded to be more than just the music that he was putting out. Like he had this aura about him where I guess you could say when you saw Mac Miller coming up in those days, like you knew he was destined for something bigger than what he was at that point. Like it wasn't just going to be that quote unquote, what the blogs were saying to be frat boy rap. But then to see his progression through the years to, again, like you said, the swimming in circles and all that kind of stuff, like that full circle moment of artistry is really cool to see. And I think hearing you say it from the inside and the fans' perspective from the outside, it's really cool to kind of mesh those together.
Yeah, he had that magic about him for sure. Like, and that's kind of what they say. Like, like you kind of see certain people just have that light and sparkle to their life, and unfortunately, a lot of those people go young. But there was no denying what he was doing. There's nobody who didn't like come over and have a great time. You don't go to the show. Like, I think I had the experience of him already like post Blue Slide Park when y'all really like showed up for him, and I met people that like bought 10 copies of the record to like help it go number one. Like he couldn't have a better fan base. Y'all are incredible. But at that point, like the shows are already going up, but he's like the stage energy was so good. The he was just kind of unstoppable, and I didn't ever like it. To me, it would have been more of a surprise that like you don't like Mac Miller, like what's going on, like I think maybe if you like only heard Kids or something, and you're like an old head, and you're like, oh, that's fucking old stinky guy in the crates or whatever, and these young kids can't rap on it or whatever. But I think he's always had the magic and the joy. The joy is a very important part of life.
Very well said. Okay, so let's transition into Balloonerism, because I know that that is something that, I mean, I can already read the chat. There's so many questions that have been popping up of things that people want to know. So before we jump into that chat, is there anything that you want to ask Josh surrounding the topics that we just spoke about? If it's anything to do with Balloonerism, that's going to come up next. Let's just see quickly if there's any questions that they want to ask, and then we could go from there. So let's see. Mods too, if you see any good questions, feel free to copy paste it so I could see it quicker. So someone wants to know, what's your favorite song off of Macadelic?
I really don't like that question. I don't like the word favorites. It's so pointless. Like, what's your favorite color? Like all of them, like the but I just think that like what song don't you like off of Macadelic?
For sure.
But of course I always connected to ones that I recorded. I also haven't been sleeping more than like 4 hours a night for the last like 3 weeks, so I'm not like I don't have something with the songs, but
do you have any funny stories from recording sessions?
Only about a million. Every session was fucking hilarious. That was really like, if there was one thing to take away from the Sanctuary, it was that I laughed till my stomach hurt almost every single day. and to the point where I was like, sometimes I was like, oh man, I was fucking like I ate mushrooms or something. But the I recognize that like if you value life by the amount of belly laughter, which is a pretty decent barometer for how well you're living life, um, I was like the richest man in the world at the time. It was absolutely incredible, especially if you got Earl and Vince over there. Like those two would be rapping in the fake Jay-Z voice at each other, like, yo, son, I got the gold mink. Oh, son, I got the gold sink. And it would go on like that for fucking hours, you know? Just incredible shit. One time they did a whole like 2 hour freestyle in iambic pentameter about me and Derrick Rose. And it's just fucking ridiculous.
I love that. Chat, take
Uh,
notes. Laughter is the key of everything. I'm telling you. Someone wants to know, is there any artist that you would have loved to see Mac work with that he didn't get the chance to?
I don't know. Felt like I don't know. I was listening to Mac for Mac, like not who he's working with. You know, like I didn't feel like I needed. I didn't feel like I ever needed a Mac collab. Uh, the the Q-Tip collab was always something that would have been tight. Nas. These were things that like um, happened or almost happened, but just a Tribe Called Quest like really uh, meant a lot to Dude and was obviously hugely inspirational to all of us. Um, I mean, like fucking you got Mike Jones on fucking Uber rolling up like a turtle, dude. Like you're done. You got the features finished.
All right, this is going to be the last question before we jump into Balloonerism, but I think this is a good one. What song would you show somebody who's never heard of Mac before?
Mm, I don't know. Thoughts from a Balcony comes to mind. That was always like the that's maybe if I had to pick like a center of a bullseye of the type of music that I expected from Mac or that I like about Mac, it would be that song.
I love that. That's a good answer. Okay, so for Balloonerism, let's start at the beginning back in 2014. So when the discussion came up uh, about the album, what was your first impression or your first reaction while the topic came up, or kind of what the themes came up in the first kind of sessions?
I think so many of these questions are backwards of songs came out, got recorded, and then you kind of like process it and things would kind of come together. It would Nobody ever knew what a song, nobody ever made a song with an idea of what it's for,
Right.
like you make the song and then where does this fit? Like what is this really saying? Um you make a song like, oh shit, that now I got to make a whole album for this or whatever, or where these songs are kind of starting to fit together. It was one of like my main roles was keeping track of all the songs, like do a couple a day, and like you gotta have a system, and it also had to be one that made sense to both of us. So as we got an idea for a song, like, oh, we're in album mode for this album, like we did a song. Is this album? Yeah, this is for the album. Put it in the folder.
Mhm.
We don't know yet. We'll figure it out later. That type of thing. And these things all just kind of evolved.
Right. Was there anything that felt different about Balloonerism compared to other stuff that you've worked with him on?
Yeah, Balloonerism was like the high white note. It was like the this like peak of a moment in time, like the whole story of Faces of, okay, fella just made this huge come up and went through the rostrum era and was doing 250 shows a year, did a TV show, all these things are happening, and he just wants to be in the studio making music. And at some point, like you know, the split over watching movies of feeling like they didn't support him, they didn't get it, they thought he was on a slide, and um you know uh, other things that just, not everybody's meant to work together forever. And when he concluded his agreement there, he was like, it was like, I'm finally free. Like, no more shows, no more anything. I'm just gonna be in the studio, and that's all I want to do. And after one last tour across Australia, it was that. And maybe after a couple weeks, like, he finally, like, really hit this, like, zero resistance point where, like, the like subconscious is, like, way beyond anything you could possibly uh concoct with your uh, ideas, or your notebook or spreadsheet or whatever you've got. Like, he was just in flow mode, and, like, coming up with shit, like dude just came up with fucking funny papers, like, that just came out of him. Like, who
It's ridiculous.
is that like any other? I mean, it's not like it's unlike any other song, but it's like this, like, story. And he just started getting into these zones where this shit would come out. Each one of those songs is, like, kind of out on a limb of its own. And just the flow is just ridiculous at that time, and it felt very special. It was like, holy fuck, like, every day it was, it was like the fucking day, like, it's just like fucking the goose is laying golden eggs everywhere, and you're just like, fucking, it's amazing.
Yeah, I
It
think
was
that's
it
something
was it
that
was just incredible.
I think that's something that fans really appreciate, is being able to hear these songs, but then have the question of, like, how the fuck did that studio session go? Because, like, listening to it, you're just in awe of both flow, cadence. Like, I think that's a cool insight to also touch on, is like what was the vibe like in the studio while recording some of those songs, and how long did it take him to record some of them?
Never was it long to record those songs. Like everything just came out. Like, sometimes he would have, like, some, especially with raps, like, he might have a few things, like, written down in his phone, but, like, a lot of times he would just go line by line, or what have you. um I didn't always, like, I'm usually doing something at the computer. I'm not, like, watching its every move. But
Right.
the energy was good. Like, that's what's kind of weird about it, is, like, with a lot of the stuff from Faces and Balloonerism, you listen to it and people are like, the fuck were you guys doing in there? Were you, like, in a graveyard at midnight with fucking deer horns? Like, what the
Mhm.
fuck is going on? Like, why does everybody want to die? But it was not like that. It was like this jubilant time for him of, like, finally having time to let, like, all the shit that had been building up from these years of, like, you know, I mean, he got worked hard, like, to go
Mhm.
out there, and, like, booking agents typically for a new artist, like, they run you as hard as they can. They milk you for every dollar they can, because most artists have 2 years in them. And the booking agents know this, and so he ran hard for his first 2 years, and then some, but to just, and then to be coming straight out of high school into this type of situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember, like, dude used to be able to just, like, be like top trending on Twitter, like, like, he could just say something, and now it's like the back when that was a thing, like,
Yeah.
and even before then, when he could just do it on a whim. It was like a really incredible experience that he went through to get to where he was, and then to, like, sit there and finally be able to just, like, unpack all your feelings in the way that you desperately need to, via music and microphone. And it was just like the perfect storm, you know, this like, you know, perfect moment in the movie, you know.
Right.
And that's why the songs were always so special to me, is because they came out of this like time, you know, that was so pure in its expression.
I see some people asking too, was there ever a conversation amongst those in the studio about what direction he wanted to take for the album?
Nah, man, there's like that's a like, hey, look where we are, you know, like nobody had a, you know, I think we need more songs, like more weird ass songs about fucking imaginary people. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's you just you just get there by doing like it was just so raw, subconscious flow that, and this is where it landed, you know. That's what's so magical about it. And also that there's like other people there you're making music with. If you if you make music with somebody and it's improvisational, you're kind of like playing something and they're kind of playing something, you're having a conversation. There is a connection and an exchange of energy that neither one of you has by yourself. And so
Right.
there's also this extra special shit happening, and that had a huge part on the whole energy around that time, on all the songs that were being made. Most of these songs are products of that type of just improvisational jam.
Right.
Um, you know, I've said it before. The you know, Mrs. Debbie Downer is all one freeform jam. You know, like
That's crazy.
that's that's what happened. Like, oh, we're all sitting around like, oh, fucking whatever, and then oh shit, that's what happened. You know,
I
like that
love
just
that.
came out. Like there's nobody tried to like write. Let's try this one. You know, like
Right.
it just uh, you know, folks just started playing.
What was the chemistry like between Mac and the other artists?
It was really unreal when you think about it, because like he didn't play the piano at that time the way he, like when you see him playing his white grand piano at in the Studio City house, like he's he's really good, you know. He's got beautiful songs that are just coming out of him, and he managed to do that in like a really scrappy fashion at that time. But like he played all those drums on the on a keyboard, you know, just like,
Right.
and you know, and to step up and do that with Thundercat and Taylor Graves, these like multi-generational LA jazz legends. Um, you know, it's you're not supposed to be able to do that, you know, and I think
Yeah.
that's a lot of Mac's magic, is like you're not supposed to be able to do that, you know. You can kind of walk through walls. He's got the magic, you know.
We did have a question written down here, which is an interesting one. Was there any obstacles during the creative process in terms of that could be technical, it could be, you know, writer's block? I know you said that the album was pretty much written out really quickly. So was there
Yeah,
anything
I
that
mean,
was kind of holding it back a little bit?
no, I mean it's like you know, it was such a ridiculous question that like the answer is like, oh, we needed, you know, to wait until somebody would answer the phone to have like another jam session. Like, oh, we've been up all night, and you can't call anybody at 6 in the morning to come over and jam. You know, you got to wait until like 8 or 9 at least, and you got to wait until like, oh, we might need more instruments. Let's go to Stein on Vine and get a bevy of classical instruments. You know,
Right.
let's go. Let's just go drop 10 racks on instruments at Stein on Vine at 9 in the morning on a fucking Tuesday or some shit.
Okay, now
Which
to
which is, let me
sorry, go
just
ahead.
say that Stein on Vine, for those who don't know, is like a he was being like Steven and Omas were telling us like, oh, this is like, you know, like if you were like a session player like in the, you know, 60s or 70s, like you got your like check and you went down there to like get your instrument. Like it's like it's a very sincere place of legend. If it's still open, pull up and walk in there. It's amazing.
I see a very reoccurring theme in the chat right now where people are asking probably the most asked question about Balloonerism pertaining to the track list. Could you speak on sort of like the original track list versus the published track list, why certain songs were left out, kind of what went into the ordering and that whole kind of creative process?
Um, well, I mean, first off, fuck you to whoever stole my my photo. Uh, the secondly, the dude just made playlists. Like this is part of the same. Like, okay, we're making music, and then let's playlisting was a special part of his art that he loved and spent a lot of time with. Oh, let's see how these songs fit together. Like that's where we kept the references. It's a really great way to deal with music if you make a lot of it. And the playlist would kind of change, and anytime he would be at the computer, he'd kind of be fucking with stuff, reordering things and that. So each one of those playlists represents like a moment in time on something that was always moving. And
Right.
when it came down to finalizing this playlist, it was, well, obviously this was the one thing that like everything else is untouched, but we couldn't untouch this because it needed to be finalized. So we had to make the decision of how to do it. And I looked at all the playlists and thought about what made sense. Obviously certain things came and went. Obviously some things never made sense, even if they were on his playlist. And I kind of listened to the songs that, some of the like the main core of how it is with, the bulk of those songs was kind of was in a playlist that like sat for a while, and minus a couple reorderings, like a bulk of them were there, and I spent a lot of time with that playlist. I at the this was one of my favorite projects that we'd ever done, and I listened to it all the time. Like it was some of my favorite listening. Like if I wanted to listen to something, I pulled it up, and so I knew like the vibe very well of like what was. And it becomes this like kind of intangible thing of like what is good for the record, what isn't, like I had to make that decision every day of like, where is this song on this goes in this project or not, and I got good at it, but I never knew what he would have done. And what I know that he would have done would have been something that I would have made me exceptionally uncomfortable.
Right.
Maybe like Rick serves that. I was really uncomfortable about putting that on there, but like uh I had always written it off because it was so silly. Um and then just listening to it again in context of everything that happened, I was like, oh, that was one of those that like he put on there that I thought was ridiculous, but listening to it, it was like, oh shit, this is it. This is what we need, So a lot of it didn't really need any thought whatsoever. And then it was really more about listening to the songs to kind of finalize the order after a couple of them were interpolated,
Right.
But it's really, I mean, it's really not that heavy. I mean, you all know like that what we have today is pretty close to what it was,
Yeah. I know a lot of fans kind of understand the timeline already, but can you touch on the reasoning why the album didn't come out earlier?
Well, that's like the story of Faces. There was just so much music coming out of him at the time. It was like a troubling amount of music. Like that's why he started talking to Rick. It was like, I'm making all these songs, and Rick's like, hold on, but you can't just be making songs like that many songs. Like we need to sit you down in Malibu, and you need to have a sauna about it, and some fucking butter coffee and all that shit. And Faces was like a compilation album, like it was just like there was just like too much heat sitting around. Like something had to give. Like it wasn't it wasn't a project necessarily, you know, and
Right.
then it became a project. The I don't know. The Ooh, I'm getting lost. Where are we at, man?
Okay,
With the
so one question I saw in the chat earlier, which is kind of tying into what I just said, how do you think Balloonerism would have influenced his career if it was released back then?
oh, I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong about this, but I'm fairly certain like he got signed off those songs. You know, like at that time, the other thing that like made the time so jubilant and not like terrible was that every single entity in music like wanted to snap up the free agent that had the number one independent album. You know,
Right.
like there was there was many suitors that would come by, and you know maybe they would come by, maybe they wouldn't come by, you know. But the guy from Warner, he came and sat on the beanbags in excruciatingly tight jeans and sat and like listened to the songs with like a sport coat on, and God bless that man because he fucking saw it, you know, like he
Right.
really saw it and he really understood what was happening and he could see like the magic of the time, you know. And I think he knew that these were the songs, you know. I think the issue became something where it was always really important to Mac that like his catalog be very specific. He didn't want, you know, to he could have put out a you know a mixtape with 100 songs, but he wanted to be able to do the show and for people to know what his songs were. You know, he wanted
Right.
it to be clear what his catalog was, and he was really thoughtful about that process. Hence the playlisting and all these things. He was really specific about the statement that he was trying to make. Look at the 10-year box set for watching movies. Like all that writing in there is that, you know. Um,
I know we spoke about you had the some involvement in the film as well. Did you want to touch on that?
uh, not really. The you know, yeah, no. What I do want to say about the film is that at first it seemed when I first saw it, it seemed like odd, like you know, like Destination wasn't on it yet. And it was just like you know this these are the songs you picked. You know, it was like it was startling to me. Um, but I had like a feeling like this is important, you know, and if you know, I don't know, I trust Miller a lot, you know, and
Right.
he knows he has a deep art that is powerful and it's pervades it pervades all the works, you know, and uh I'm like this has got to mean something, you know, and I think it I can only imagine what it was like to just like I mean I know because I asked people, you know, like you go and you see it and it's like just completely overwhelming. Here's all these like you know maybe you hadn't heard the songs yet, maybe these are new songs, they're snippets, they're in a weird order. If you know it's an odd track listing. You know, it's a very gonzo track listing. It's very um, not what you would expect from the track listing as you know it today, right? And
Right.
uh, so I got to take a peek at it at the end to try and help, and I was useless. And they, uh, they just they sometimes you know you got to ask somebody just for them to be like, nah, I don't know anything, and then you're like, okay, this is good.
I'm sure they appreciated your insight. I
Yeah.
see a reoccurring theme in the chat again. People want to know if you could speak on how you felt when you first heard Delusional Thomas and kind of how that alter ego played
Hmm.
into his recordings.
Yeah, that well, I you know, I'm the one who pitched it up, you know, like I had to move the slider, you know. I don't think it was maybe necessarily my idea, but there was no anticipation for me. It wasn't a surprise.
Right.
So that it's hard for me to have that impression, but like really it was like the an experimentation for watching movies, and that first song was like um the first song, it was different, as you know now. And then like at the very end of like the process, the track list goes out. It was like always the anchor, and then to like, oh, we can't clear this. Like it was just like devastating, and Mac and Earl stayed up for like 2 days, like trying to make something new, and succeeded. Like it's impossible that they should have exceeded. It's that should definitely not have happened. That was not possible. They made it possible, and then this like new kind of more bizarre landscape had emerged, and that kind of, I think, drew that out of him. And then a few projects came out like of like the post, oh shit, I just turned the album in. I can't make any more songs for it, but I can't like do anything. I can't do anything
Right.
else yet because the album hasn't come out. Like you did Larry Lovestein and Delusional Thomas, and it was kind of just like like, you know what I mean, just like exercise, just flexing creepy bars. I always liked Delusional Thomas quite a bit.
Someone
Uh,
wanted to know, did you pitch the vocals up during the recording or after?
After.
Okay, so do you want to hop into the Q&A?
Yeah, man, hit me with it. I would just be sitting here like looking sideways if I was trying to watch the stream. So you got to hit me with it. I'm just
Got you.
on a weird island here in front of a packing
Okay, we're
blanket.
going to try to rapid fire these. I got a couple from socials from those who have left some on our post, so we'll go through those really quick. And then mods, pay attention to the chat. When you see cool questions, either reply and at me or find a way to get my attention, because the chat does move pretty fast. So first question here, we actually have from Dissect Podcast. They wanted to know, can you ask about the tambourine opening track for me? I'm not able to make this, but would would love to know why the album started this way.
It's a great question, man. It's a great podcast. I learned about it from the Reddit thread. Some of y'all were talking about it. I went and listened. It's incredible. I mean, they find so many things in there. It's one. That's like that's what Balloonerism is, where you can find so much shit about it, but all of it just happened through the subconscious. Like, obviously, fella didn't know he was going to die on a Friday. Like all just things start happening, and I think it's God. I think it's like the hand of the unseen and in the subconscious and all this stuff. We don't know what it is. Can't like really measure it. It's the thing that goes through the music.
Right.
But the tambourine. Y'all should know the tambourine, and it's incredible that nobody's asked this question, because that tambourine is in so many songs. In the booth of the Sanctuary, it lived on a music stand that did nothing else but hold the tambourine in the headphones. So many people like Mikey Wright, like fucking tambourine at the beginning of Malibu. Like it's the tambourine. Like it's just in there always. And Lord knows what fucking possessed this dude to just go on a fucking frolic with it, but he certainly did. I think it was like I think that $5 pony rides and transformations were actually all in the same session for some reason. That doesn't usually happen. But it's an edited down version of a much longer, incredible, life-changing tambourine performance.
Is that the same tambourine in Angel Dust?
Every single song that has a tambourine, it's that tambourine that was done from the Sanctuary era. Like people are knocking it over, like it's like that, and eventually the door was like coming off its hinges. and like you would hear it go, and most of the time it had delay on it. Those are like the sanctuary sounds. You can always pick them out. Go have fun with those.
It's all good. In chat wants to know who decided to put the phone ringing at the end of Balloonerism, and is there a purpose besides the obvious?
Well, certainly beg to say what is the obvious. That definitely was Mac, and you know you know it's funny because the album actually kind of starts with that, like that being the first song that was done. Um, it started with just like, I don't know, it was this weird that session and the next session, Colors and Shapes, were these really bizarre vibe because we'd just been like out of the room for 2.5 months on tour. And this was like the first time coming back in there. And it was unusually like quiet compared to like always being around people, always being loud, always being all this high energy. And it was like back to the quiet of the sanctuary. And for some reason that like got these weird like meditative vibes. And it was this like, it was just like, arts and crafts. It was this really like, just kind of vibey construction of a song.
Right. I saw
But
you mention on Reddit too, and I saw a couple comments in the chat about this. Is there anything that you want to speak on the sister album that you mentioned?
mm, I think I've said way too much about that. But it. I don't know, man. I hope I can. You know, I hope that becomes a thing at some point in time. Uh, I don't know. It's like as much as I, you know, the leaks are like really painful. Like you're like literally like, wearing my dead friend's jewelry, like walking around with it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like a very real like grave robber scenario for me. And at the same time, like I completely understand. Like you want to hear the songs. Like they're incredible. I want you to hear the songs. Like it's a I hold a lot of energy in both of those places, and I love like the passion and the archival and the puzzling, the mystery together. Like it it impresses me greatly, and uh, I hope there's like I have some ideas about how we could work together on this, but the I just I'm not going to say anything else about that now. Um, I will say though that if anybody is um, has some development skills, like I would love to build something with you guys that could be a home for this type of thing. Because part of the problem is of releasing the unreleased music is that Mac really was super specific about what comes out.
Right.
He gave you what he wanted you to have. And while there was a lot of other things that he loved that he wanted you to have, like he didn't want to, like it was very important to him that like we had a concise catalog as fans to understand him through.
Right.
And obviously now that's changed, and I I do think it would be great to get that music out, but it doesn't make sense to like always put that, like you go look at Nirvana now and it's like 10 albums of like B-sides and rarities before you can even get to the albums, and that's
Mm-hmm.
actually something that I think about a lot. Like I remember hearing uh that song about she puts me in a jar or whatever and it makes me happy. Like that was like it became one of my favorite Nirvana songs, and it was like a fucking, my friend gave it to me on a cassette or some shit, like I don't even a miracle how that fucking shit was able to translate via cassette to cassette from one fucking smelly hand to another, you know. But uh, I don't think that like um, the streaming catalogs, and also fuck Spotify. You guys should all boycott Spotify immediately. Go to YouTube. Like they will actually pay the artist. Like Mac's not getting anything out of you streaming him on Spotify. It's turned out to be a fucking, you know, a fucking money laundering weapons manufacturer scheme.
Damn.
Watch the documentaries and fuck Spotify, and also fuck Spotify. But I think that there should be like almost like a like the if you guys remember the app from Good AM, like that I imagine a world like that where the music would make sense to the people that want to be there, and it doesn't need to like be, it doesn't need to have like the rest of the world, you know, looking at it, you know,
Right.
as like, oh, this is the, you know, this fucking, you know, I don't know, you know, turkey love is what this guy's all about, you know. um uh it it needs a new home, and I have ideas about it. So if you have um fucking superb skills with HTML, fucking send me a message on Reddit.
There you
But
go.
that's a long non-answer for you.
I'm glad you touched on the leaks too, because that's something that I wanted to ask you, but again, it's always a tricky conversation. But you know, we've tried to convey that message for as long as we've been doing what we do, and I feel like some people understand the message, some don't. So I'm glad that they get to hear it from somebody on the inside as well.
It's hard because there's a lot of like, I've seen a lot of threads about it, and it's like, oh, it's not going to come. I mean, it wasn't, you know, I really wanted there to be something on Balloonerism that you guys hadn't heard.
Mm-hmm.
That was, it wasn't a driving force, but it was a fucking huge bonus. And I know that that song had leaked. I don't, I mean, honestly, I don't think there's a lot that hasn't. I've seen the like the list or whatever, but you know um, it's just really uh it's really like overtly like disrespectful to like an area like that, you know, where you know you you don't want to be, it's like if you think like you're gonna, you know, talk to people that know the guy, like you probably don't want to be wearing the fucking shirt that you stole from him or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
like it's like it's just weird like that. It's not about like is it going to affect it? It's not about his family needs money, you know, like it's not about any of these things. It's that, you know. And we all have songs that we love that didn't come out, you know, that could have come out, that should have come out, that almost came out, you know, that um I'd love for the world to hear, you know. And I love that you guys like keep his memory alive, and you carry this man so beautifully. And I just, there's nothing that I could more deeply convey than that you carry this man beautifully, and it means the absolute world to me. And I understand that you want to hear everything he did, and I love that you're like rabid archivists. As somebody whose whole job is like keeping track of the fucking files, like I love that about you. I also fucking hate it about you if you try and steal from me, you know, like
Yep.
that's also a big problem, you know, for me. So you know, it's two things. it's it's um it's I love you and fuck you, you know.
As
um
simple as that. Um, Here's a fun question. Is there any song that you didn't work on with Mac that you wish you could have? Or that you could have at least been in the session during the recording?
I don't know, you know, like certain songs like um man, I should have the discography up. I can't get this one wrong. Come Back to Earth. Like
Mm,
he played that for me, and I was like done. I was fucking done. I was, like you've done it. This is your masterpiece. Like like I was hard on him. I wasn't, like because I saw him make Balloonerism. Like I'm like you're not going to fucking serve me some weak ass shit and expect me to get excited about it.
yeah.
Like I was not like cutting fella any slack if he wasn't coming through with the heat. Like and he just he absolutely killed it. That's hearing that song for the first time. Like I don't know, you can't even like record that song. You just hear it. Like it's too much. Uh, I don't. Well, as a in like the younger days of working with him, I thought being an engineer was like really important. And at the end of the day, it's like you're just like the person who hit spacebar. Like yes, there's a lot more to it than that, but like nobody gives a fuck who did that. Like it doesn't really matter, especially in most of the situations. And what matters is the time and how you spend it. And
Hmm.
that's I realize like if I could do anything in the world, I would do this. Like this brings me joy, and I love to do it. Um, I don't I don't really have any like oh, I wish I got to work with this person or whatever. I wish I got to record this song.
Hmm. I
I'm
don't know if
not.
you could see the chat right now, but everybody's saying we care. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you don't even know why. Like
Hmm.
it's I know what I do. But like it it means a lot, and thank you for the support. Like it's fucking ridiculous that like I was able to like go on tour and people knew who I was and shit. It was like so bizarre, but definitely heartwarming. And I have always gotten a lot of love from you guys, and um it landed well. He couldn't have had a better fan base, and I know because not every artist has that, for sure. It's a
Could
it's a
you
lot of like special people in here.
could you explain the story again to those who don't already kind of know how you ended up on Rick's piano, like that whole conversation piece in the beginning?
Um, uh, I don't know, he must have had the idea, like, because I don't just end up in the booth, for no reason. It's like that and the fucking Yeti ad libs on Faces.
Hmm.
There's very few times I was asked to go into the booth, and I think part of it was at the time I had a huge disgusting beard, and that got me a lot of Rick Rubin comments like, oh, like, oh, who's this like you're a Rick Rubin type of character, and it became maybe a thing, you know. Um,
I have a cool question here. Um, since Mac always said nerding out with Josh Berg, can you explain what you guys are nerding out about?
and you could tell like he started that one. There was like a few songs and Faces that I just showed like Diablo. Like I just showed up one day and it was already on SoundCloud. Like he recorded that himself and put it up there, and then we went back and like did some edits and shit. But like he had started that and got kind of once he got going, it was like okay, now I got to talk about everybody. And um, like I'm a fucking dork, like it's helpless. Like if you put me and fucking Ian Germ in the room, like oh we're
Yeah, for
guess what
sure.
we're gonna talk about? Oh, like these studio monitors and fucking all this stupid shit, like really there was also a strong Arnold Palmer phase at the time that I'm very proud of, that and I remember fondly. Also just as important as the nerding out. Um, Aspect of that line.
Definitely. Okay, I know we spoke uh, about wanting to play through a song. Is that something that you still want to do?
I don't have anything pulled up. There's you guys have heard the songs. I don't know that. I don't know. It didn't really speak to me. And then somehow somebody's been sending around this video of Barry White like at the boards, like, hey, yeah, man, if we get the kick and the bass going, that's what you feel on the dance floor. Like I'm like, oh shit, man, that's fucking hard, dude. I really want to do that, but I can't do it until I got like a board and
That
a
makes
Barry
sense.
White voice.
We'll save that for one day
But
in the future.
it's there's really not like I don't know. It is my personal joy of like printing stems, like and getting to like hear the drums on certain shit.
Right.
Hopefully one day I had proposed this to the fucking hip hop archive of some university, like the um the playback machine that I built for the live performances that had all the stem, like the drum stems and shit, like just being able to like vibe to just the drums was like so different, you know, like you could
Mm-hmm.
just like break it down to just the drums or just the keys or what have you, like just hearing the individual elements, like especially with germ drums, like the fucking get the magical hi-hats. It's like, you know, like a juggler juggling
Yep.
fucking scarves, you know, like it's a move pedaling a bicycle backwards juggling scarves, like it's fucking glorious. It's one of my personal joys is like listening to the individual elements. um so I'm sorry, but I didn't bring anything for you.
That is all good.
um
I did
yeah.
want to ask you, and this is also kind of more on a personal note, but what is something that Mac has taught you that you'll keep with you forever?
Faith and grace, man. Like the uh, his faith in himself and his vision. If you look at anybody that's successful, that's the secret ingredient. You know, is his faith and his courage in that, and his courage to be vulnerable, to show up and just like, oh, I'm just gonna make this beat from scratch live in front of these people. I'm gonna get on this stage. I'm gonna grab this microphone. I'm gonna reach out to this person. You know, every single thing he did, like, took that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and um, so many times it'd be like, oh, I don't know if that's gonna work. Well, shit, that actually does work. That's a great idea. You know, like always have faith in the idea. Trust yourself. Trust your ideas. Believe in your vision. And that's faith to me. And grace is another one. This man, like, almost never got angry. Like, I fucking had to load out from a show, pushing crates around a block up a hill. Like, I was fucking angry at times, you know. This dude was never angry. He always seemed to be able to know what was really important and what wasn't, and how stupid it was to
Mm-hmm.
just get, to be fucking grumpy and stinky, like that level of grace is truly exceptional.
I love that.
And something that will make your life better every single second that you practice that.
That's the truth. I saw somebody in the chat wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite production from Larry Fisherman?
Oh shit, that's such a great question. I like I mean it's I love like so much of the really weird shit. Like if you look at Mannequins, if you look at Avian, like these songs are fucking out there. Like it's really weird stuff. The Dissect guy called it with the colors and shapes on the up snare. Like it's like it's weird, and but it's good. And I love a lot of that style of shit. I love his drum playing. The those are the ones that stand out to me. A lot of the other things I think about are like things like Destination. There was like songs, yeah, that came out like I know a lot of people are big fans of Dragons that shouldn't know anything about Dragons, but like these like really big like grandiose productions of like, okay, what can you do with Pro Tools, you know, like what can
Mhm.
you really build with these tools? And those are also some of my favorite. But like the go back and like listen to like the Vince Staples record that he did, like it's fucking weird and amazing, you know, like Guns N' Roses and fucking, you know, all types of shit, man. The whole thing is incredible.
Someone asked, "Do you know who put the spiders in his applesauce?"
Oh man, I don't know
um,
anything about that.
Producer question. Someone wants to know, what is one of the favorite samples that you've ever used?
The original Lost Boys sample that is I don't know if that ever came out anywhere, but it's uh, a Beck one of my favorite Beck songs. Um, the other one is like the whole regime of Moonrise Kingdom samples.
Okay.
That shit fucking was another like magical series of productions. What he did with the Tune shit is like, I don't know that that would be the first thing that comes to mind, but like his chopping of that is really really nice.
Jay Charlie in the chat wants to know, would you mind sharing a memory with us of a time that you saw Mac very proud of himself?
I mean, he walked out of the booth when he finished the question. He said, "That's the greatest song I ever made." You know, there was times, you know, that were like that. I think, you know, shows were also like so good. You know, like you hit these like you hit a good show and it's like that feeling is, you know, inescapable. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's also something that like becomes, I mean, if you think about how much energy is exchanged and how much praise you put on somebody on stage and how good that must feel to have literally like thousands of people cheering for you, you know, like, and to move that crowd, like, then to like, you know, show up in a quiet room the next day, like,
Yeah,
you know, like it would, just the, you know, adrenaline reserves get jacked up, you know.
definitely.
Um,
Someone wants to know, do you have any information on the artwork commission for the album,
Do
or
you
how
have
that
any
came to be?
information? No information. The, I actually don't. I have no fucking clue how either of the album artworks. If you go to Mac Miller Sanctuary account on IG, that dude is a brilliant archivist amongst the many of you brilliant archivists. He might be the best though. Uh, he's got he's got it all figured out. He knows. He kept the every vine that everybody ever made in every post ever. You know, you might have called him crazy at the time, or her. I don't even know if it's a dude. But the to have done that, and you probably felt uncomfortable like saving every like photo that was ever done at some point, and then to like now have that be like, this is good, this is really good, we have all the information here, you know,
I
like
love that.
it's really incredible. Like somebody like called the date on Colors and Shapes, or Tomorrow We'll Never Know, like based off of like an interview, like a 10-minute song, like this was fucking July 17th or whatever, you know, like the archival work is superb, and you guys are fucking animals.
Shout out to Mac Miller Sanctuary on Instagram, guys. Let me see. Did I have any others from social media that was interesting enough to ask? I saw somebody on Reddit bring up there was a distinction between Faces and the opening of Balloonerism, and they wanted to know, was that any way pre-planned, or was that a thought process on translating from one album to the other?
What do you mean?
in the sense of, was it pre-planned to end Faces in a certain way and then have it pick back up on Balloonerism?
No, what makes you? I don't
Because they
understand that.
specifically mentioned that Faces finishes on an A sharp note, and then if you were to skip Tambourine Dream,
Oh,
it goes into a B flat.
yeah, fucking dorks, man. It's good to know that I'm not the only one. And shout out you for fucking even being out here posting about A sharps and B flats. Like you're
Yeah,
fucking
shout out Andy. I
amazing.
think he's in the
You
chat
just
too.
you deserve a big hug. But that yeah, but definitely not definitely planned. And it took 15 years to get to that point, and a lot of people had to die to get there. We killed a lot of people. And
I see a lot of
now it's over.
people mentioning run-on sentences. Is there anything that you want to talk about for that?
Oof. Oh, I love that. That was like those were special because I got to kind of um do more with those. Mac let me like kind of make a little art with him in those projects. He would get like a little hot streak on the beats or something and come back and just like he would come back from like a little like a a short run, a tour, or like a couple shows, that he flew for, and came back with like a folder full of beats. Like, yo, this all these beats. These are a project. Like, put it together. And um, to put together an instrumental project is a different process, and I just had a ton of fun with those. I probably got through the first one, was able earn my ability to put sample stupid YouTube clips on things, which then made a lot of trouble for a lot of people when we released Faces. Um, but you know, those are really cool projects. It's a really interesting side of his production. Um, some of them are just so far out there, like with the Great Gatsby sample. Like, it's just such a strange place to find yourself. Uh, Part two was more fun. Like, I really went in with the master tempo automation, and so that one like really moves in a unique and interesting way. I would love to see those come out. Uh, Shout out Avocado, man. That was a wonderful, absolutely wonderful evening. Uh, with Before we went, it was like the night before we went to Australia for Big Day Out, where he had the pink hair and everything, and me, him, and DJ Money were just making a song, like laughing our fucking asses off, like per usual, in there, having fun with with feedback, which is something I have gotten a taste for doing a lot more of these days.
Someone wants to know, why is 55 called 55?
I don't know, man. I just showed up.
There's your
Showed up.
answer.
That's actually a good answer to the question of what song would I wish I would have worked on. San Francisco. Like, San Francisco's got to be one of my favorite songs,
Good choice.
and I have no idea where it came from. Just showed up complete.
DV in chat wants to know, what was the thought process between the original track names to the ones that might have been changed on Balloonerism?
I don't know what ones would have been changed. The DJs and the song that changed everything. It was I don't. I wouldn't trust my recollection at this point, but uh, it was going to be one or the other. I think it was more about like which one was last or which one felt more appropriate. Um, I don't remember which one came first, offhand. But that should be the only one that changed. I don't know if anything else changed.
Okay, so we could do this forever, I think, because people have very interesting questions, and this can literally just go on for another hour. Is there anything else that you want to speak about specifically, or that you want to get into?
No, this has been a good run. We made a solid run at this. I mean, I could also talk about this shit forever, and there's just so many cherished memories. This really helps. Like, this really helps me, like talking about him and spending time with the music, and uh, it helps me process his loss in a weird way. And I feel like, especially with this like very specific community, like you're who I want to talk to. You know, like the people that know the catalog and the career and all the moments, and care so much. Like you know, that's why I wanted to come and share. Like, I knew I was going to have like so much feelings and so much to share about this record, that I wanted to like just kind of bring that straight to you guys, you know, like, um, oh shit, I was supposed to have answered questions for a periodical that will remain unnamed, but really I only like talked to a couple people, you know, so you know, you might wonder where they got their information from. But there's not really much to say about it, you know. It's like, it's so much about it is everything that Max said is in the music, you know. So if you
Yeah.
really want to know how he felt, like, just, you know, put the records on, listen to that, and that's everything, you know. And I'm so thankful that y'all find so much in the music. Um, y'all y'all collectively need to know that, like, you're valued and loved, and you definitely went through too much to try and give up your spot on this planet. Be here. You know, we need you. You got more work to do here. uh you know, we do what we do in spite of drugs, not because of drugs. You know, that shit's a robust self-pity that you don't need, because you know, I see, I've been through all that shit with, you know, like, I don't want it to sound weird, like I've you know, made my whole life around drugs and drug people. Like, it's you're loved and you're understood. I hate to see so many of y'all struggling, and I'm so thankful to hear that you make it through it, and that this music helps you. You know, like, it really means the world to me. But the other thing, part of it is like, you know, you don't got to struggle so hard. You know, life is good, man. You'll find it, even if life really is fucking hard, because it is. You know. Uh,
And that was beautifully said. I kind of want to give that a moment.
yeah, yeah. You know, thankful, very thankful for all of you. You know, it he it I really felt this shift of, before it was like, oh wow, people really like your music, dude. You know, like, to like, you guys really carry this music. It's your music now. Like you literally, you know, put him on your shoulders and carry him, and I'm just infinitely thankful for that.
Before we let you go, we have one last question because Edan's in the chat.
Hey,
And he wants to know,
lurking.
how many instances of Isotope vinyl plugin did you add on per song on average on Faces and Balloonerism?
Yeah, every single track. That shit was brilliant though. That was my first plugin partnership. I called them, or I emailed them, and it was like, you know, I've been using all your plugins, which was just actually your free plugin, on everything. Um, Shout out our friend Drew Drucker for the reminding me that the Decade filter is the best thing that they have invented at the time. That was heavily used. I wish Edan could tell you the story of the the condition he would find me in when we would mix the records. It would he would mix the records from 9 to 5, and I would get 5 to 9 to like make sure all like the effects and the drops and shit are doing what they need to do, and it would be tough to wind down. And one day he found me in a disused sketchy portion of his basement, completely shit-faced, reading a book on chicken husbandry. And that's probably my favorite my favorite time at ID Labs.
All right, Josh. Well, I know I already told you this.
Well, let's end it on chicken husbandry.
Yeah. Someone linked that in the chat. We're gonna check that out. I know I've told you this privately already, but I want to give you love on stream. On behalf of us, everybody in the chat, everybody in the community as well. Thank you for everything that you've done, both for the art and for the community themselves. I could assure you that it does not go unnoticed, and there's so much love for you for everything you do. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I feel that, and it means a lot. Thank you.
All right, man. I will hit you after this. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Peace.